All right, the first one is the greatest generation.
Now, I would say the shittiest generation to be born in, which is weird that they named themselves that.
They're the great. Apparently, the name comes from something coined in the 50s that these are the hardest working, been through the most capable generation.
I
Because
feel
of
like they
what
were trying to
came up
tap it in for this contest with that name.
Yeah.
Because they knew we'd be ranking the greatest generation.
Like
They
we
said
need
it was
good SEO
preempted.
in 70 years.
They read that there would be a podcast called Lemonade Stand one day,
Yes.
and we have to stand up for ourselves on it.
I'm going to change my Twitch name to Greatest Streamer.
Well, the greatest generation, these are the people born between about 1901 and 1927, which I think when you're talking about times that far back, I think it helps a little. These are the people who were on average living into anywhere in the 1950s to the 1980s. With some of these people still alive now, if they're in like their late 90s to like early hundreds, there are people still alive from this
Some of
generation.
them are presidents recently.
Great they are.
And they're
God
still,
damn.
and that's what they set goals still. That's what makes them the greatest. They say, no matter my impediments in my ability to think or speak, I will still run.
That's so great. That's honestly great. Okay, here's what I want to understand. Okay, like we all complain about what's going on in our lives, and we feel like it used to be better, maybe for specifically our parents who were at a certain generation. But I think it's like if you were born in the greatest generation, was it actually that bad? Was it good? What's going on economically? What's going on culturally? Like, is that actually a shit time to be born or not?
I think the big marker for these people is that they would be in the Great Depression. They would be in their teenage or 20s during the Great Depression.
Was the Great Depression a good time, Aiden? Is that
Yeah.
No,
Because I
That's
feel
what
like
really
a lot of
break it
people
down
who
for
are
us.
teens nowadays feel like they're in a Great Depression.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
they're very depressed.
it's actually the
They're on-
same. It's the proliferation.
Were they on
of-
Discord a lot?
They were on a lot of short form video and like didn't have a lot of real life friends. I don't know what source I read, but that's what it says.
Yeah.
No, these people, I think they're primarily known for growing up during the Depression and either coming of age or coming into their early adulthood during World War II. And then, you know, if you were a man fighting in World War II, I think a lot of changes in the wake of World War II are what define this generation's sort of success. I think the big things we could look at here are like life expectancy and healthcare first. Like, what was this generation dealing with? Realistically, pretty low life expectancy overall.
Okay.
Like you were,
Because they were shot by a German soldier.
Shot by Nazis.
so that's the first thing. It's like you had a pretty decent chance of just dying in World War II. And then shortly after, if you didn't die in World War II, a decent chance of dying in the Korean War.
Right.
Which are
right.
two of the bloodiest conflicts in American history. I think Korean War is like 5th, and then World War II is like number 1.
And I could be wrong. I think even a lot of people around the world died in World War II.
In World War II, it was actually a lot of
That
people
doesn't
around the
check out
world.
to me.
It actually, while America did suffer the most, I think actually many countries suffered.
Well, it was over 400,000 American soldiers dying in World War II, over 600,000 people wounded. So over 1 million total casualties,
Okay.
just American.
Okay.
Weren't Americans on the low end there compared to a lot of...
Estimates for Russia are 50 million. It's
Pretty sure no Russians died in World War II. I'm not 100%.
sorry, Soviets.
That's a conspiracy.
I might be. I mean, so like you gotta.
Okay.
There's a broad range of things. That's on like the very high end. But you know, jokes aside, we didn't have it that bad. Although you know, the people who fought for America had it pretty fucking bad, and it is worth reiterating that, obviously.
And then in the Korean War, 36,000 deaths and over 100,000 wounded. So also a pretty terrible outlook if you were someone who joined the military for either of these things. Or
This is after
were
the
drafted.
Depression, right? So you go from the worst economic depression
Yeah.
into your adult life, possibly fighting in a war, one of the bloodiest conflicts ever.
So the life expectancy gap here is kind of strange for this generation because when you're a kid, you grow up in a time period where there's very few like antibiotics. There's not a lot of vaccines. You're dying from things like maybe measles, maybe polio, tuberculosis, pneumonia. You go straight into the bloodiest conflict in our entire history. But if you manage to come out the other side of that and you're still in like your 20s, your 30s, your life from there relatively good. America is starting to build itself during and in the wake of World War II in this pretty incredible direction. If I'll put an asterisk on this, if you're white
And a man, usually.
and a man mostly. So that's the big asterisk on this. So there's a really important bill that comes in the wake of World War II that people might be familiar with, the GI Bill. And this gives returning soldiers the white ones, unfortunately.
Is that true? Black soldiers didn't get the GI
I
Bill?
think a lot of these programs did not work in favor of black soldiers in the wake of World War II. And this was what helped expand the racial wealth gap that existed in the United States. A lot of like,
Wow, that is, I did not know that straight up. I did not know the GI Bill, designed to assist all veterans, systematically excluded Black Americans.
yeah, it's really.
Obviously, I knew there was racism at that time. I just thought the GI Bill was one of the things that.
I thought it was good old fashioned racism, not that they would modernize it.
Well, I thought that was the one thing. I don't know. In my mind, that was like an anti-racist thing because people that came back from war.
Right.
No,
right.
no, they made it racist.
No, they made it racist. Okay,
So
there you go. That's crazy.
What this did, and one of the criticisms of it is that it did help expand that racial wealth gap that that already existed. Is payment and support for tuition to secondary education, greatly expanding the number of people that were enrolling in colleges, and kind of helped set the trend of college becoming more standard in average people's education, or maybe going back to high school or getting vocational training. It's helped support those things as well. And then also helped people get into homes, gave them very good mortgages with very low interest rates. And a lot of people moved into the suburbs, which was where a lot of building was expanding at the time. The other thing that they were doing was fucking. They were doing a lot of fucking. They were pumping out a lot of babies, just record amounts at the time.
Now, was this again mostly men, or were women involved with this?
So presumably it was about even on their 50-50 split on that.
The gay generation.
And then things like home prices, if you're in the 40s, and this is all in 2024 dollars, if you're in the 40s, the average home was like $64,000 in today's money. $64,000 in today's money. Isn't that crazy?
So what? It was like a nickel?
Dude, it was like a couple thousand.
Nickels.
Yeah. And then in the 50s, it jumps up to $93,000. And then in the 60s, jumps to about $120,000. And that's all in 2024 dollars, which is crazy, right? And you're also existing in a time period where a lot of common household technology is proliferating. In the decades that happened, you're getting access to like fridges, microwaves, AC units, landline phones are becoming more common. TVs are becoming more common. I would say maybe one of the downsides is through this period, it's declining, but food spend for families was a larger share of income, but that's considerably offset by the amount of money you were saving on things like your home when they were so much cheaper. And then also through the 40s, the 50s, and 60s is medical technology is starting to catch up and vaccines are getting developed, antibiotics are getting developed. I think the other big thing that people forget around this time is that there is a bit of a mental health crisis in the wake of these wars. Mental health is not as well established of a field. Things aren't as easily diagnosed or identified. A lot of these soldiers are coming home and dealing with PTSD in like an environment that doesn't know how to properly recognize that people are actually dealing with something like that. Health isn't viewed in the same way that it is now. So I think there's this strange thing is if you're young, we're born into this generation, manage to navigate your young life through one of the worst periods in American history through the Great Depression, and then also survive the war, you end up in a time frame that is unprecedented success and wealth if you're a white American.
So would you roll the crap dice there at this and go, all right, I would be born in the greatest generation. Hopefully I survived the Great Depression. Yeah. Hopefully I survived World War II. Hopefully I was born white, and hopefully I was born a man. Would you take those odds? Are you a betting man?
That's a risky roulette table, bro.
I'll be real. Stat for stat, this is a dog shit generation.
Yeah, this is one of the worst.
It is just so, because chances are, like, if we're running the simulations, so many of them are like, I was 10 and died of measles. Like, and then a lot of them are like, I was 18, went to France, and then died.
Died
like,
on Normandy Beach or whatever.
Or I was 20 and then I died, or I was 25 and then I died in the Korean War. Like, there's so many of these people's stories just ended there. And then they're the generation that sired the baby boomers in the silent generation.
So that's a pro, though. I mean, you get through it all. You're fucking like crazy. You got some money.
I would argue, and this is maybe a spoiler for what I think is the greatest generation, that what if you were born right after the World War and the Great Depression? That would be even chiller.
Oh, nice foreshadowing. I think if we're just I'm gonna cleanly call it the greatest generation. I'm sorry, you don't live up to the name. I know you went through a lot, and I don't need to apologize. Most of you are dead and not listening to this podcast.
That's the primary audience. Yeah, I'd say bad.
That's the worst part of the coin flip.
Not a
Even
good
if you
time to-
survive it all, Aiden calls you a piece of shit 100 years later.
Not a great time to be born.
picture of